Welcome back everyone, happy Comic-Con week. This is going to be my new Star Wars Ahsoka trailer video. We finally have some actual footage to look at. This is going to be for the regular Ahsoka episodes that are airing next year. It's the Mandalorian spin-off series, even though it'll probably feature flashbacks to the Clone Wars. Hayden Christensen said that he's going to be in the series. Most of it is meant to take place in the present day after the events of The Mandalorian Season 3, or around the same time as The Mandalorian Season 3. I will be doing episode videos for the series just like I do for The Mandalorian, so be sure to subscribe to get everything. It is going to be awesome. As of me posting this video, it is Comic-Con week, so there's going to be a ton of trailers posting. I'll do as many videos as possible too. The Black Panther 2 trailer's probably going to be one of the biggest things this week, but there'll be a bunch of other Marvel trailers. There's also going to be a new Star Wars Andor trailer soon too, because that series is starting. I'll be doing episode videos for that, but I'll talk more about that when they release new trailers for it. The brand new Ahsoka footage starts with Ahsoka walking to the bridge of what seems like the Ghost by herself. It could be the Ghost, it could be another ship. There's no one in the cockpit. She's wearing the same brown robes that she was wearing at the end of the Book of Boba Fett when she was with Mando, Luke Skywalker, and Grogu on the planet that Luke Skywalker's new Jedi Academy is on, which they've since actually canonized as Ossus, which is actually a big deep cut for the Legends canon. Ossus used to be the capital of the ancient Jedi Order. They had some Easter eggs for that during the Mandalorian Season 2 when they included the Tython Easter egg. That's like another ancient Jedi planet. We're talking like the Jedi that predate the Old Republic, like very, very old ancient Jedi. But in all this trailer footage, it seems like her clothes haven't really changed that much since the end of the Book of Boba Fett or the Mandalorian Season 2. Like she's still wearing the same basic outfit. They did make a big change to her Leku. It's her tails coming from her head. On the Mandalorian Season 2 in the Book of Boba Fett, they gave her shorter Leku just because they said it was easier to film with her practically. Like there was some issue that they had doing a really accurate version to the animated Ahsoka that you've seen the past several years. But when they started filming the Ahsoka series, they did a big retune on the way that they just visualized the Ahsoka character practically, the way that Rosario Dawson looks when she's walking around in all the makeup and the costume. So now her Leku are way longer, and she looks a lot more like the animated version of Ahsoka from Star Wars: The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. So if you're a big stickler about stuff like that, you'll probably be happy with the changes that they made for the Ahsoka character. Then as she presses a button, they switch to the soundtrack, and it's a very different type of soundtrack than the Mandalorian series. It sounds more like the music was inspired by a samurai film, which was kind of the vibe when they debuted her character during the Mandalorian Season 2 episode. Seven Samurai, Yojimbo, Throne of Blood even inspired the original Star Wars: A New Hope movie, so Dave Filoni really went to Star Wars roots when he borrowed imagery for the tone of the samurai films for Ahsoka. It sounds like all the Ahsoka episodes will just be more in the tone of that episode. The only major difference with that Ahsoka episode is that most of it took place at night, and they're not going to do like the entire Ahsoka series at night. Case in point, all this new Ahsoka trailer footage from her series is during the day. So as she pushes the button near the cockpit, they transition to the soundtrack and to the title sequence playing that samurai-sounding music, and they transition to a different episode of her outside in what looks like the ruins of an ancient Jedi temple around a bunch of columns that look like they've been destroyed for a long time. It could be the ruins of some old Republic planet from before the rise of the Empire, but the fact that it's a really ancient-looking temple with the columns, the designs on the floor that she searches through, just makes it sound like it has more connections with the old Jedi Order from before Order 66. As she walks through the ruined columns of the temple, they transition to a scene of her walking into a room on a bigger ship or a base with what looks like a Republic officer, some droids, and the big thing obviously is right next to her is live-action Hera Syndulla. I've talked about this before. Long-running theory, they did cast Mary Elizabeth Winstead as one of the main characters, like a really big character going forward, but they wouldn't say who she was playing. She was also at Star Wars Celebration this past year just a little while ago with Ewan McGregor. She is his real-life partner, like they just had a kid together, and they made a lot of references to the two of them, like the couple of them together, both playing really big Star Wars characters, and it being kind of funny if their child did not grow up being a Star Wars fan. So it just sounds like she's meant to be this really big character, which is why I think it's going to be Hera. There's another scene on the interior of the same ship, just in a different place. It could be the live-action Ghost, it could be another ship. It just seems way bigger than the animated version of the Ghost ship from Star Wars Rebels. But I think part of the idea is that most of the footage that they showed off of the team together is the live-action crew of the Ghost on the actual live-action version of the Ghost. There's a different scene of a human female hand reaching out through the Force at a drink, like they're using the Force trying to grab the drink, and it seems like it's the same ship, and it might be Sabine Wren because of the color of her skin. It just seems like the hand belongs to the actress that's playing her, Natasha Bordizzo. They even brought Chopper on stage, so they're going to have live-action Chopper on the Ahsoka series. But as far as I could tell, Chopper didn't show up in any of the trailer footage that they showed off, but the next trailer that they do have will probably feature some of the other characters that were in the first one. Really hoping that they put Grand Admiral Thrawn in one of those trailers too. Obviously, they're not going to put him in the first teaser trailer, but you know that he's going to be part of the Ahsoka series in some way. Don't worry, I'll talk about Thrawn in a second too. And if it wasn't clear, this person who's grabbing for the drink with the Force, Ahsoka's hand would be a way darker shade of orange, and she doesn't use the Force in such a casual way like that. And if it wasn't clear, Sabine Wren is Force sensitive. A lot of her storyline during Star Wars Rebels, especially the later seasons, was about the Darksaber itself, which obviously they're dealing with in the Mandalorian Season 3 right now. Remember, the whole arc of the Darksaber with Sabine was that she won it in combat, defeating Gar Saxon in their bid to place Bo-Katan as leader of the Mandalorians, but that was before the events of the original trilogy in A New Hope, before the Great Purge. Sabine gives the Darksaber to Bo-Katan, which is supposed to be this new age for their people. Obviously, things went a little bit sideways. But that's where the armorer told Mando that things went wrong for their people and for Bo-Katan because she didn't win the Darksaber in combat. Kind of put a curse on their people. Like there's this whole hanging cloud curse that it seems like they're trying to put on the Mandalorians during the Mandalorian series. They'll get into that really heavily because a big part of the plot is them actually going to the planet Mandalore again, the wreckage of the Great Purge. There's this whole thing going on in the Mandalorian Season 3 with Bo-Katan, the Mandalorian, and the armor, all three of them deciding on what the fate of the Mandalorians are going to be, all Mandalorians, and each one having their own agenda, with Mando kind of stuck in the middle, trying to decide where his allegiance lies. Do you want to support Bo-Katan, or do you want to regain your honor and do what the armorer is telling you to do and join your old covert of Mandalorians? My early theory is that he's going to pull an Ahsoka, because obviously we're talking about the Ahsoka character, the Ahsoka trailer. He's going to go his own way like Ahsoka did. She left the Jedi Order, but she didn't go to the other side. Like she didn't turn into a dark Jedi. She didn't join the Separatists. She just forged her own Jedi path separate from the Jedi Order, which is why Ahsoka isn't a Jedi in present day. Technically, she's not a Jedi, even though she's highly trained and very powerful in the Force. Like she could train Grogu in the Force, even though earlier during Mandalorian Season 2, she made a big deal about not doing that. But then there's a new scene in the trailer of Ahsoka inspecting old Jedi designs on the floor, probably in the same area as that ruined temple we saw her in earlier. And then they show a brand new scene of an architect droid on that same ship that they keep going back to, and it's the exact same model of droid that David Tennant played when he was in the Clone Wars episodes on the Jedi ship. During that series, they explained that the architect droid was basically just there on the Jedi ship to help new Jedi create their lightsabers. But he wasn't the only architect droid, he was just a model of architect droids. So I don't know if this is going to be the same droid as we saw during the Clone Wars, or if it'll be a completely different one. There's a scene of Sabine looking at the mural from the end of Star Wars Rebels like it's the exact same scene from the end of Star Wars Rebels, but done in live action, with a live action version of Sabine and a live action version of Ahsoka, with her touching Ezra Bridger's face, obviously letting you know that they're going to pick up where they left off with the story and tell what happened after that, but also find Ezra Bridger during the course of the series. I know there's all kinds of theories about who they cast as that character. You can post your theories below. There's more footage of Ahsoka at the ruins of that Jedi temple unfurling her hood. They show the title sequence, and the music, like I said, reminds you a lot of a samurai film. So obviously a big plot of the series is going to be her trying to find out what happened to Ezra Bridger. That's what Sabine is trying to do. And also, she is mostly looking for Grand Admiral Thrawn. That's what she was yelling about at the end of the Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 5. Where is Grand Admiral Thrawn? The whole idea is that in present day, Thrawn has made it back from the unknown regions, and they actually just showed some Star Destroyers during the Mandalorian Season 3 trailer, and the big thing about Star Destroyers is that there are very few Imperial capital ships left over from the remnants of the Empire. After the destruction of the second Death Star, the Empire kind of had its last stand at Jakku. They call it the Battle of Jakku. It was there that the remnants of the Imperial fleet, like all the capital ships that were left over, all the Star Destroyers, all the really big ships, were mostly commandeered and then taken into the unknown regions where they basically morphed into the First Order. That was right after Return of the Jedi, so obviously this is like a couple years after that. That's why in present day The Mandalorian, there are no capital ships, or there are very few capital ships. Otherwise, Moff Gideon wouldn't be using a cruiser, he'd be using a full Star Destroyer as his main ship. So the whole idea is that when you start seeing Star Destroyers showing up in The Mandalorian Season 3, it probably has something to do with Thrawn, because Thrawn commands a fleet of Star Destroyers that he came back from the unknown regions with. But the way they're playing his character is that he's going to be the big bad of this era of the timeline. Like, they're doing a version of the Thrawn trilogy, like Heir to the Empire trilogy, but in the Mandalorian spin-off series. They're sort of doing the Marvel Avengers thing where you have a bunch of different series interconnected and then they all cross over in a big team-up type of project, and that'll be them versus Grand Admiral Thrawn. So we might get a tease for his character at the end of The Mandalorian Season 3, like this is who it is, even if we don't see the actor on screen, and then we'll probably see him for real, like his actual face, during the Ahsoka series. Post all your theories in the comments below. Who will they cast as live-action Thrawn? Still kind of think it's going to be Lars Mikkelsen because he did the voice of the animated character, and that's kind of their thing. Like, he is a very notable live-action actor, so he could actually do a pretty decent job as the live-action version of Thrawn. Lots of new Comic-Con trailers posting this week. Make sure you enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss anything. Everyone click here for my brand new Mandalorian Season 3 trailer video and Easter eggs, and click here for my Black Panther 2 Doctor Doom video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and this is the way.